welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your host, Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining me is my lovely co-host, the author of Surrender Your Sons,
Adam Sass.
Hi, Adam.
Hi.
You're back. You're just like Faith. You're back for
I'm
the
back,
end.
just like Faith. I was thinking it was going to be like a Giles thing, but he was kind of around a little bit towards season 7. But yeah, no, I mean, you know me, I'm always like default to like whoever the older fuddy-duddy character is, but you know, because I'm not like a Faith at all. So, but I am Faith in this day. I'm here for the end. And we have got 2 fabulous guests with us today. First up is teacher, lifelong Buffy fan, and lumbergay.
I'm not a real lumbergay. Denver gay.
There we go.
I'm Stephen Oneal.
There we go.
Steven.
Hi.
Okay, and also you thought we were done with the Stevens. We are also joined by New York news anchor
Steven Romo.
Hi.
Hello. I am not like a Faith. I'm more like a Rona, just appearing in the last season, searching.
Well, because Adam
also ran. Yeah,
I can't remember the last episode of Buffy that you co-hosted. It has been a while, but you still. I think everyone has done 3 this season. I think.
Well, I think my last time was like 1,000 years ago when you started season 7. That was a joke about how long you took the season.
It did feel long.
I do take a long time with the seasons, but to be fair,
it was only 35 years ago when you did I think it was the first episode. I think it was the first episode of season 7.
Listen, this is the first season where you didn't move like 3 times in the course of finishing.
Read me. I've moved 5 times since you did. Yeah, I think because I've moved back to West Hollywood, where I lived in from like 2013 to 2016.
Right.
And 5 years came and went, and now I'm back because I never should have left. But I lived like in 7 different addresses between now and then. It's been a very the Trump years were very chaotic for me. And nobody else, but just me.
Yeah, no one else.
Oh my God. So yeah, here we are at the final push, I guess, final batch. Like season 7, all kind of. I know this is usually a complaint for me, but this is sort of like where it becomes a little more serialized this season, where you can't really be like, ooh, each episode is a different flavor. Like it's very hard to pick out which one.
There's no more Hush. There's no more like stuff like that.
Right.
But so because this is one thing I'm bad at, remembering that both guests will have the same name and you can't see them. So what we're going to do is Steven Romo is going to be Stephen Oneal is going to be Oneal for the sake of this podcast. And Stephen Oneal, would you like to start us off with your Buffy origin?
Oh my gosh, sure. So Buffy premiered when I was 7 years old, and I believe I watched the pilot, the very first episode, live with my family. I think we were on spring break, and I watched it with my family, and really liked it, but my 7-year-old brain didn't really, know what was going on. But and then I remember throughout the first season, like my sister and dad would watch it, so I would catch a few moments of like The Witch or Nightmares. But then that summer, I think the WB re-aired the full first season, and I got really hooked. And I would watch the repeats building up to season 2, and then season 2 hit, and it became an actual obsession, and maybe like kind of a worrisome one for a 7-year-old to have. But I would. My room was just covered in posters and magazine clippings, and I just. My parents spent so much money on Buffy stuff, and so I would watch it every night with my mom, and during commercials she would pretend to be a vampire and I would be the Slayer, and we would we would beat each other up.
That's so cute.
And that is so, and I would just wall to wall, and everything Sarah Michelle Gellar did was everything to me. And I was really just kind of hooked very early on as a child, and have been ever since.
Every time you said 7 years old, my fingers dug deeper into my desk.
I'm so sorry.
Well, at least it's been worse. I can remember people have been like, oh, I wasn't born yet. And I'm like,
Wait a minute.
I was 7 years old. I was smoking cigarettes. You know, I had lived a little.
No, I love this idea of like a 7-year-old you like feeling very seen by these like sort of like teen Sturm and Drang, right? Buffy losing her virginity to like a guy who turns evil right away.
Yes, and in 3rd grade, like I was like obsessed with like being friends with my teacher, so she would be like my Giles.
Oh my God.
Like, one recess, my friend and I like went and like did something in the library with her, and I was like so excited, and everybody else was like, well, you loser, why are you hanging out with the teacher at recess? But it was I was like, she's my Giles this year.
You're just laughing, you're like, that's such a Harmony thing of you to say.
That is fucking precious. Steven Romo, would you like to give us your Buffy origin?
Yes, I really appreciate that O'Neal's origin is not. I've heard several people on the podcast, they talk about like academia and like studying Buffy. No, I'm much like Stephen Oneal. I was just a little kid, and not that little. I can't get the timelines mixed up, but I watched so much TV as a kid. Of course, I watched Buffy, and I got hooked really quickly. Like the sort of the loser misfit kids were the interesting ones, and all the popular kids were the boring ones. And I was some like dirty little neglected kid running around pretending to be the first boy vampire slayer. So hooked very early on.
I feel like every little gay boy wanted to be the first boy slayer, right?
Yeah, I think we missed the point of the show, but
yeah,
totally.
No, I think we were all like, no, we'll just like be this like little exception. We'll just be this like little gay sidecar. I don't think any of us wanted to replace Buffy. We're just like, no. Like she has a little brother who's like saucy, and then and it's not Dawn.
I was actually curious that I was not cast as Dawn.
Big oversight.
Buffy having a gay younger brother would have absolutely tracked, right?
We would like we would have all like ascended to a different plane of existence. We wouldn't have handled it.
And it could have basically been the same character, kind of just a whiny little teenager,
but more likable.
No one's paying attention to me.
No, Buffy fandom would have escalated into like those Beatlemaniacs, or like you see like those people at Michael Jackson concerts who just like weep and faint, right? Yeah. Like in the Moonwalker, but he was just like, carried out. I have to go.
So we're towards the end here, and we are here to talk about Empty Places, which is a very Adam, I feel like you and I have brought up this episode so many times during the course of these 7 seasons.
We have like planted the seeds, I think. I feel like this is the biggest like plant and payoff we've done in like the history of of your podcast, where we keep referencing it.
Because we have come back to this
for years.
For years we've been referencing this as the moment that pissed us off the most in like the show.
I know. And I feel really bad because I have been yelling. I'm like, this is the crux of like, this is unearned writing. And then like, it's our friend Drew Greenberg who like wrote the episode. So we were talking before that. But like, I know like at this point of the show, like you have to just make certain things happen. But like, I revisiting it, I'm just like, oh, it's fine. I'm just upset that they kicked Buffy out.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just upset.
So I mean, the thing that pisses us off doesn't even happen till the end. When I was rewatching, in my brain, I thought it happened. I didn't realize it's like literally like one of the final beats of the episode, because I kept waiting to get there. I was like, oh, we didn't get there, I'm going to get mad. Because also, even when Adam and I were talking about the end of the season, we were both like, wait, which episode does she get? Like, we couldn't remember which one. Like, I think we thought like, oh, maybe it's Dirty Girls right at the end, but it's not till like this one. Because these episodes do get mushed together, right, Adam?
Right. There's a little bleed. I mean, because it does become very serialized, because I feel like around this time, X-Files, like similar type shows were trending towards more serialization, because pay cable was hitting pretty hard, and for whatever reason, it just seemed like we were going in a much more serialized way. Like X-Files' final few seasons became very like one episode led into the other. Yeah. And then I have a renewed defense of the Everybody Leaves Each Other scene. Now that I know Drew wrote it, but I think it's because I think there is a queer reading of this where it's like it is very like jealous gaze turning on the hottest one. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And until I realized, I'm like, ooh, if you view it through that lens, absolutely they did this.
Adam, I love that reading of it.
Wow.
Like everyone's really stressed out. And when you're that stressed out, you just like start doing like weird low stake stuff, like just turning on people for no reason.
And I mean, I do, to lend credit to that theory, the first, character she encounters in this episode is Clem, who is a very queer-coded character.
Please.
And I actually like their discussion here. I like that he's not really being mean, but he's just kind of like trying to like encourage her and be positive, but also as like, maybe you should leave too. Like,
yeah. He also gives, not to bring this back to Scream, but he says the same thing Dewey says. He said, this time it seems different.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Like, oh my God, Scream.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Dewey watched Buffy, I think.
Stephen Oneal and I, our brains have been nothing but Scream for the past few months.
I know, I can't see anything else. I'm
When
sorry.
you said Scream, I thought you were going to go in the direction of Gail's cameraman in Scream 2, who's just like, oh, I'm out. We're out.
But I do like that it's like this demon that's leaving town. I mean, granted, he's never been like a evil whatever, but like, I like that this like very nice demon who just like hangs out in crypts and like eats snacks is like, no, it's time to go. This is like a bad apocalypse. And like, it's a nice, I feel like he's the perfect character for this scene. I was thinking what you would think about that, Adam, as the writer of the group. Like, do you think he's like a good pick for that kind of character for here?
I do. Yeah. I mean, especially with who they were kind of like, this is someone who is not going to be involved in the final fight.
Right.
This is not one of the Buffy inner circle. So you don't have to deal with like the emotions of like, wow, Anya, you're it's not like an Anya leaving at the end of season 3.
Right.
And she had every right to leave at the end of season 3. And
right. Yeah.
She said it was horrific for making her feel bad about that. But no. I think Clem is like for sure. I mean, you kind of do want somebody who, and again, he's a comic relief character. So it's always like a nice pinch of spice to put in, to like deliver scary news from like a friendly, kind of vaguely comic sort of presence.
Right, because he is used as almost like he's like delivering her this news, but also like he's like a friend, but like you said, he's not like a best friend. It's not like you're leaving. It's like, yeah, you're leaving. That makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like Buffy would have had to do a lot more like emotional interrogation, like if it was anyone else.
Yeah,
and also he's been in it enough that it's not like who, like it's someone who's like kind of been around. She likes, but she's not like, but I need you. She should need Clem, but
yeah. What would Clem do in the final battle? I wonder.
Something involving cats.
Yeah,
I hope Clem is just like in like Palm Springs or something. Just like I hope he has a good life.
Yeah, I know. Like he did. He's just like an older queer Palm Springs.
Hang out with Ross Matthews.
The hilarious Clem. Yeah.
Sarah just sounds also Sarah Michelle. I call her Sarah, dear friend. She's got like a little laryngitis.
Yes.
Yeah, she sounded sick. I kept hearing
all
that.
Those speeches, I think, finally
they got up with her.
Yeah, I actually put that I love when her voice, because there's a couple episodes like throughout the show where like you can tell Sarah Michelle Gellar was like sick or something and her voice sounds scratchy. I think it sounds super good. I'm like, oh, that voice sounds like sexy. I like it.
Right. Like if this was like an on purpose thing, it would be like, oh, she's transitioning to like a Lauren Bacall later years, sort of like, oh, this is her very purposely leaving behind the teen roles, and she's just like, oh, she's going to enter into her like seasoned actress voice. Like Carrie Fisher, when Carrie Fisher's voice fucking changed.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Hey, Steven Romo, what do you think of Clem?
Well, I remember when I first watched this, I wasn't a giant fan of Clem. I don't really have a good reason for it, except I think that he ate cats. So I was like, that's a bad guy. But I think he was great in this scene. First, it like let us actually see people are actually leaving, taking this time it's different kind of an approach to it. So I thought it was good in this scene, and he's like telling her, "I'm sure you'll do fine," like in delivering it in a sunny way. I thought, yeah, it was done well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love Clem. So We move to the post credits with Willow and Giles talking to the cops. Willow's doing a little magic thingy to make them believe that they're with Interpol. I don't think I paid attention that much, but when they're pulling that man into the police station, I was like, oh, this is very much like one of those people that got brain, like, I mean, it's not, but it feels like he could be like one of the guys that was brain sucked by Glory, right?
Yeah.
This scene is slightly confusing to me. But I was like, wait, Glory's back? Because I have rewatched season 7 recently, but I watched this episode in particular yesterday. I was like, wait, I don't remember all this.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
I do love that they're bad at pretending when he's just like, oh yeah, we're with Interpol. Yeah. And they're just kind of like slip sliding. That's like me and Adam trying to tell one of these lies. Like,
oh my God, I couldn't lie.
You and I would be terrible.
I'm a liar, but like, I couldn't, like, just, if it was that high stakes, like, I would immediately just be like, I would immediately mouth it.
Yeah. We get like the cop is like, oh, we're itching for whatever, and we know that that's the line to like them beating up Faith. And I like that the magic keeps blipping where he like is constantly calling, and Willow's like, Giles has to be like, she's with me. We're gonna leave to get our flight to Interpol. Like, I love how bad they are. And as Willow and Giles are leaving, we see that the cops are discussing there's like a person of interest that's in Sunnydale, which we know is Faith. She goes to see Xander, and I gotta say, hands up, I know that Xander is a capital P problem, but like this shit like hurts my heart. Like her and him, like Buffy has to leave, and when they're doing like jokey, like he's like, oh, I need a parrot so I could be a pirate. And the way Allison Hannigan delivers the like, yeah, or we could, and then she like breaks and like stops herself from crying, I think is, I don't know, man, the emotions, like I still like got teared up watching that.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the most heartbreaking scenes, I guess, because, you know, Buffy starts isolating herself again in this episode, or continues, I guess, isolating herself. So she takes off when I just want so badly for the core group to like congeal. Buffy has all of this problem. She's got all this tension with Giles ongoing, and you just really want those three to just have like a moment together. And she takes off, and then Willow delivers that line, and she tells her she can't do that because, you know, he'll lose it. It's just that really did an effective job of tugging on the heartstrings.
Yeah. I mean, right, Adam? I do think that's very good writing for this show. Like that's how they always write.
I love that you keep pivoting to me. Adam, writing? Question mark? Yeah. It does. No, I mean, like, what is, I mean, since you two are so new to the recordings here, we can also maybe take a little bit of an overview sometimes about like season 7, like as a whole as well in these moments. And that's kind of something I'm more interested in, is we seem to be really like reinvestigating some of these like characters who were with us from the beginning. And I know Ian and I have like from the beginning been like Xander, you know, but you know, like obviously like when the show was happening, if anything had happened to Xander, it would have been like really not good. So like, you know, like Romo, what's your like overall feelings about, you know, Xander, like especially like from watching it from like an earlier age?
Watching it when it was very shocking to me that they actually did that to Xander's eye when I first saw this, and there wasn't some type of magical fix. That really did. I mean, I think it had the effect that they wanted it to. You know, a beloved character, you know, Caleb just does something that's not going to change. But until he was getting on my nerves this season. Dawn actually started winning me over this season, and you know, she wasn't as annoying, but obviously that changed. I'm sure we'll talk about that later in the episode. But Xander had just been getting on my nerves, and you know, the creepy sleepover thing, dream sequence was weird. And then
I know
when this happened, I was like, oh, not my boy Xander. You know, I kind of loved him again.
Suddenly it's like, right, because it's like, I remember watching it live. I didn't really have much of a problem with Xander until he left Anya at the altar. Like that was unforgivable to me. Even like, you know, when you're younger, you don't see the problems as much. But for me, that was like, I loved Anya so much. I was like, nope, I do not like him. But like him getting his eye like crunched out, it still like hurts my feelings, because like he's still their best friend. And at the end of the day, Buffy and Willow's feelings, like if they're sad, then I'm sad, right?
Yeah. Also, eye trauma is just like so messed up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm just anything eyes. I'm just like no.
And I do feel like that's kind of like the most violent the show ever got, right? Like it's like you get like punched or maybe like a stab, but it was never like anything. It would be like a stab, but like the camera pans from like the chest up, and the stab is in the belly, so you don't really like see much. But this felt like. Brutal.
This show had this season had some graphic, deaths or, attacks. Like, I mean, just from like, Halfrek's death, like it was the setting her on fire. Like it was all of these, like these disturbing images that long after, and season 7's not my most favorite season, but I think like a lot of these things, from season 7 have really lingered in my memory, since then, where maybe like more favorite seasons, maybe. Yeah. Don't as much.
I mean, even Anya in the finale, right? She gets literally slashed in half. That's like,
Don't want to talk about that yet.
No,
not ready for that part. So, Oneal, were you? So you were 7 when the show started. When were how like? Walk us through. How old were you when the show ended? I don't do math.
I was in middle school, and I was in middle school, 7th and 8th grade. And season 7, there was also like a lot of like personal stuff happening in my world then. And so it was kind of, watching season 7 was a little less, comforting than it had been. Just cause a lot of, the cast didn't get as much screen time. And so, yeah, it was just kind of an odd time in my life anyway. But, it's a season that I really like the first half of it. I think it gets pretty muddled in the middle there, but I think it sticks the landing pretty well.
That Stephen, that's honestly how I feel about season 2. Like, I do think it starts off. I think people forget it does start off really strong, and Steven Romo, you said, and I agree. Like they do a lot of good work with Dawn this season. Like she's way more capable, and like we don't try to pretend she can fight like Buffy, but like she's still like willing to like do like what Xander and Willow used to have to do when they like, before Willow had her magic, where they just like, okay, well, I'm gonna help, but I'm probably gonna get knocked out. Or like she can do the Watcher thing, and she's like good at doing that shit. And I think that's some of the best character work they do this season, is like making Dawn a member of the Scoobies. And like not just like someone they have to save all the time.
She can actually look stuff up in a book and not get captured every Tuesday. Really appreciated that. And she just didn't like whine as much, so I was on board.
But so then we cut to the Summers basement, which I will say they don't give Anya. I've said this almost the last like 5 episodes. They don't give Anya a lot of screen time. But Emma Caulfield is like, oh, these 5 lines, I'm going to make sure they're like funny and I like shine in this episode in the 5 seconds of screen time you're going to give me. Because her and Andrew work really well together. And I think this is like a perfect thing for Anya, that like she's trying to teach them, but like failing. Also like the gay thing of like, I'm like, oh, that would be me. Like oversharing about her ex while trying to help these teen girls.
It's Emma Caulfield like is using this skill to this day with WandaVision, which was like, making the most out of whatever that role was. Yeah, that was something where I'm like, I think like she's definitely like you put her in there and like she kind of just centers every single scene. So
and Andrew of course doesn't hurt that scene either. Her little they were the pair I didn't know I needed this season. Loved Andrew.
Yeah. It's funny because people, I've noticed people can feel strongly about like thinking he takes up too much time as a new character in the mix. But like I think him and Anya work well together. I almost wish they would have realized it earlier on, because their scenes almost feel like the scenes we wish we were getting with the Scoobies, that like they're doing too many things at once, so we really can't. But like Andrew and Anya scenes like are like funny and remind me of like older Buffy episodes.
I don't know. This is where I get very snooty, but it's very Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, where it's just like there's this very serious shit going all around them, and you kind of do need the comedy duo. Yeah. Having like the one comedy character maybe isn't enough. I think you need the like when they show up, you're like, oh, okay, we're not going to have to like hold our breath during this.
Right. No one's dying here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they changed that in the finale.
Right.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. One thing I did hate about this scene, though, just as a little nerd, was that they sort of changed the mythology of the Uber vamps. Like, they can suddenly be staked and holy water doesn't work on them, which is not at all what we saw. I think Showtime, I guess, when Buffy first faced off. So that bothered me as a little nerd, but it didn't bother me as much. I guess because I knew it was coming this time.
That's always bothered me too, and I think it's because they know we now have an army of these vamps that we have to fight, and
right.
They can't be impossible to kill if there's an entire army. But yeah, they kind of go back on what we had seen so far.
Well, I think they kind of plot-wise kind of needed to get to the finale of like, yes, we can have everyone fighting the Uber. I mean, still doesn't quite make sense, but like that way it's like they're kind of being like, oh, we did research and now we've learned, even though, yeah, it doesn't quite track. But I think that's to try to almost like retcon what they had just done 5 episodes ago, which is a weird retcon to do, but like to make it so they can be killed slightly easier. So it's not like Buffy fighting for her life, fighting each one of those bajillion vamps in the Hellmouth. Because I definitely think they were just like prepping for that. It's like, let's give a little brief thing to talk about that. A thing I also know in these noticed in these last few episodes, it's like they are preparing you for the finale by like reminding you of things that you need to know going into the finale. So this almost feels like they're reminding you of the Uber vamps, giving you an explainer, but an explainer that's like a newly retooled explainer on them to work for the finale rather than because it still doesn't make much sense, but like, Anya slashes an Uber vamp and kills it in the finale. So we needed to like rewrite that a little bit. Although I still stand by that they could have just said with Willow's magic spell, also all their weapons became like stronger or something like to reason Anya doing that.
Yeah. I mean, good point. Didn't even occur to me too, because I think by the time we got to this point in season 7, I was so 20% checked out that I was just like, sure, yes, the one was hard to kill, and then many are very easy to kill.
Of course.
Yeah, when there's one, it's harder. When there's a lot, it's way easier.
Yes, it was sort of one that was very special, and then Buffy showed them, and then now they all lost their confidence, and that's
So a lot of the potentials leave. Kennedy goes upstairs, and all right. First, before we get into this, Steven Romo, what's your Kennedy hot take? How do you feel about Kennedy?
Oh, I did not like Kennedy when I first watched it. I didn't. Well, I mean, I love Tara so much, so it's really hard to have Kennedy come in there it seemed quick. Even when I was, a kid watching this, I was like, hold up, that's not cool. Tara, she's freshly gone. So I think that was probably a lot of the reason why. And they tried to make her so different than Willow and Tara. And she's just, I don't want to say bratty, but I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, Kennedy had to suffer from like stepmom syndrome. Like it was very like, you're not my mom.
Exactly.
So like in general, like I feel like I have like no ability to be even or fair or get an overview on Kennedy because I'm just so like this whole plot point is unacceptable.
Because I will defend her only because I think sometimes, and we all do this, like we get a little like precious about like the couples that we love on a show. And I think for me, I just view it as like this like hot young top who is like, Willow, do you want to get like fucked before the end of the world? I'm a slayer. I'll be a good lay. Like, who would say no? Whomst among us would be like, no, thank you. It's the end of the world and I need to concentrate on being terrified.
Right. Plus, you just like saying the opposite.
No, I don't. I really feel like because they're not like, we don't have to like have them saying I love you. For me, that's like, because on shows we have a lot of trouble like having a casual relationship. And for me, it feels more casual. And that's why like, even watching it never bothered me. Like I don't particularly love her. I think she's the best of the potentials though.
Yeah. Keeping like, I feel like, it was, Willow and Tara were very like OTP, in love, true love, and then Kennedy's just like, listen, we're not going to put strings on this, and this is going to be very low key. Kennedy, the original JDS. maybe.
Oh, wow. Why would I not see that connection? Wow.
I appreciate your perspective on her. Every time I rewatch Buffy season 7, I kind of look at it differently. But one constant is I do not like Kennedy. And I obviously loved Willow and Tara, but it's not even because I miss Tara so much. I just find Kennedy to be a very unlikable, annoying character. So I hope Willow had her fun, but she bothers me a lot.
I'd be shocked if you did like a 20 years later where they like a revisit. I don't know what we call those shows now. I don't know, revamp, whatever.
Right.
Where is it when the show comes out? What's the word?
Revival.
Revival. I'm being a nana.
People annoyingly still use reboot, but that's not the correct word. But
right now, it's always the different word. So yeah, if we did like a revival and it's like, hey, here's I would be gagged if she was still with Kennedy.
Oh,
right.
No, yeah.
I feel like her, like, even in the comics, the Dark Horse comics that continued the show, like, the comics started with them being broken up, and like, she's a Slayer that will help Buffy, they are like whatever mission they're on if they need another Slayer. And like the comics that like, for me, that's how I viewed Kennedy. So that's why she didn't bother me so much. Like I viewed them as like not a forever, like, all right, let's just like fuck. Sure.
She needed her for that like year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And like in the comics, they have Kennedy. She like starts like a security company with other Slayer girls that like, they'll like do celebrity security, and like that tracks. I don't know. Sure. Like, yeah. But so we get this moment, and I feel it's weird. Like Faith doesn't get a lot of scenes in, she comes back, but she doesn't get a lot to do. But in the previous episode in Dirty Girls, she gets a very good scene with Spike. And this scene with Kennedy, I do feel like they have chemistry. They have like good chemistry here. Like, but Faith is like so hot, and like I feel like she has chemistry with almost everybody she like encounters. But it really was like, oh, the like two hot top Slayers like getting along. We love to see it. Like,
right.
Amanda comes out and she's like, do you think there's going to be questions about her sex life on the quiz? Which I really liked. But yeah, I like these Faith scenes. We don't get a lot of them, but like, it's just, her and the girls, and she's definitely the cool mom of the Slayers, right? Like Buffy's like not fun mom, and Faith is the cool one.
And yeah.
I was so glad. I know she didn't come back in this episode, but Faith being back this season, I was so hyped about, and rewatching it, still am, just to see her back. She was on Angel before. I was watching them at the same time, but this time just watching Buffy, I was like, you just want to stand up and cheer, and I just want everyone to get along and accept Faith and it all to go great. And it seems like it might go that direction until this episode.
Right. Stephen, you bring up a good point, because I feel like that's what I wanted too. It's like, yeah, I know they're going into battle. We don't need the like, Buffy's being voted out. Is Faith going to be like, I understand that Buffy and Faith never like had a moment to work through their shit. So like Buffy would still feel some kind of way that's maybe not positive about Faith, but I do wish we didn't have to have this like rift with the characters, because ultimately she just comes back, and then it's like, we're fine. There's no like discussion of like, hey, you motherfuckers kicked me out of my own house. Like,
oh my God.
Everyone in this house apologize to me right now, or I'm never helping again.
Please. If somebody did this to you, Ian, 10 years later, we'd still be having a discussion. I love you. I think it's more because I didn't watch Angel, and I still haven't. So now I feel like this is, crappy era to begin watching a Buffyverse show. But so I feel like I was not working with that information with Faith, because the last time I'd seen Faith, she was like fully body thieving Buffy, like consent-a-thon, like, tons of bad stuff, like I feel like I didn't get that like arc with her where it was like, wait, she's just kind of back to like early season 3 Faith, where she's just like, hey, I do things a little differently around here. I was like, you murdering. And
one thing that I have kind of found interesting about Faith's journey and trajectory is they do a lot of like the redemption stuff on Angel with her.
Yeah.
Like that her and Angel were like the characters we really cared about, how their relationship began and end. And I feel like they do a lot of the redemption, like her getting out of jail and stuff like that over on Angel, which I always thought was a little odd.
Yeah, and like it's either Steven. I do really like her. Like Angel can be hit or miss for me, but I think she always worked really well on Angel, and like they did really like a good job with the redemption arc on Angel. Would you boys agree?
Yeah, they did. They laid the seeds for what happens in Buffy, and it never really occurred to me that someone would watch just one and not the other because I was so obsessed. So Adam Sass is blowing my mind yet again that he hasn't seen Angel, but it was her. I always sort of related to Faith more because I felt like, I was sort of a neglected kid. So if I had developed superpowers, I would probably be more like Faith and go through a journey, and choosing to become good. I feel like for Faith is a bigger deal than Buffy because she had joys, she had friends, she had a support system, and Faith didn't have all that. So I just, even as a kid, related more to her and wanted her to come back around. And of course, what happens in the subsequent episodes, she gets blown up and falls into this trap. Spoiler alert for the next episode. But it's, I was really like on pins and needles for Faith's journey just as much as I was for Buffy's by the end of all this.
Okay, so real quick, I need to defend myself.
Okay.
Because there's a reason. So Slayerfest nerds will know this because this is way back in season 2 of this show. We did my Buffy origin story. And so the reason why I have not seen Angel is actually literally homophobia. So it's basically, long story short, like, so I grew up in like a very, very, very like small farmy Illinois town. And when season 4 premiered and the Angel series premiere was back to back, they showed those episodes, and then my county cut out WB. Like they just like fully were done with it. So for years I was unable to find, for years my Buffy knowledge ended with like the Freshmen. I didn't know anything that happened in season 4, 5, 6, 7, the end, anything. Nothing in Angel. So I watched the first episode of Angel and I was like, oh, I would have watched it. I would have, seen all of this stuff. And then by the time I got to the rest of Buffy, I was like in college, and this was like, and I had like, there was no other, there was no, like, this is back in my day. Like there was no, there was no Netflix where you could even Netflix the discs. So it was all like you had to pay the old school box set price per season. So it was like $50 for every season you've missed. And so I really only had the money for it. Really it's income inequality. That's the reason. But so anyway, that's my reason for it. And then thank you. Homophobia. And it's really the evils of the world. So, and then just like time went on, and then I just, never got into the, just missed the boat.
Yeah, I don't think I fully started like obsessively watching Angel until season 4, when I knew, oh, this is gonna be a last season of Buffy, but it's not the last season of Angel. So like prior to that, I would like catch it sometimes.
Right.
But that's when I was like, oop, now I gotta start. That's when I like, then I was taping Angel on VHS too, like, because I was like, I gotta have something. And I knew that I would at least get one more season in that universe.
I feel like Angel was like, every time I would hear about like, oh, someone showed up again. It felt very like the Simpsons spin-off showcase where they were like, we'd be watching like the Skinner and Wiggum show. And then it was like the Simpsons, like, and it was like, Andrew, what are you doing here? My old friend Willow has come to Los Angeles.
But so, okay. So, Buffy comes home. She's got they go through the files. I realized I didn't put this in my notes, and I can't remember, why the fuck does she need to go back to the high school? Do we like...
She just says she has to go pick some stuff up. So... whatever she needed for her counseling gig, I guess.
Okay, fair. I was like, I know she, like, I just put, like, oh, she goes back to school in my brain. I was like, wait a minute, what's she going back there for?
Oh, so it's like, it's like human stuff. Like she needed like folders and shit.
Folders, folders.
Yeah, staples.
So she goes to the school. I actually do like this encounter here. It reminded me a little bit of when Glory goes to Buffy's house in season 5.
Oh yeah.
Because I do like a villain hero moment where it's like granted, he also throws her through the window and into the wall, but like they're having like like he's like a cat with his prey, right? It's like he's come there just to taunt. He has no intention of like killing her in this moment. He just wants to like kick her ass a little, I guess. So I do like that. Sometimes his hand-fisted sexism is like a little bit too much. I don't know how y'all, Adam, you haven't been on since Caleb has been on the show, so I don't know what you feel about Caleb.
My feelings on Caleb. It's weird. Speaking of boats I've missed, I also missed the Nathan Fillion boat.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I appreciate how everyone enjoys him, but I'm also a little like, I don't know. I don't know. It felt very not my favorite of the bads. Caleb in general felt like sort of an underbaked idea, kind of felt like a Stephen King kind of idea. Like, ooh, the Reverend is or the demon is in the priest or whatever. It's but was effective because I do think you do need like a consistent human face. It couldn't just be right. I was about to say the Urukai. I'm like the thing they were taking from. The Uber Vamps, and then you had the first, which would just look like anybody. So I do think, like they did need like a regular human face. So like normal, just felt like normal. And I feel like, that kind of became like a usual Buffy sort of mini villain to have this sort of like sexist man, menacing, all of the women in the show.
Yeah, definitely half-baked is a great way to put it. I didn't know what he wanted. Like, the bad guy needs to want something, and it was so vague. He wanted Uber Vamps to rise up and also wanted women to not exist, or I don't know. I could never tell what he wanted, so I wasn't a big fan of him.
Plus, he was like kind of Freddy Krueger-ish with his jokes.
Yes,
very creepy.
Nathan Fillion has a certain charm even when he's being terrible and disgusting. So, and I think that was the era where they were just coming from Firefly, which I didn't watch like in real time. So I didn't even know who he was really, but I thought he was like a decent enough, scary physical threat to kind of get through the final few episodes.
I mean, you and Adam make a good point. They did need to put like a face. There needed to be like something she could punch, but also something that like, because the Uber Vamps are just monsters, right? The Uber Vamps and the Bringers aren't like punning and like
someone who wasn't from like the creature department,
right? Right. The creature department. That's really
it's really right
because it wouldn't have worked, right? If it was just those monsters, it like I don't know. She couldn't have a conversation with one of those monsters.
Well, because like the villains in Buffy had been so even if they had been sort of humanoid, or like I guess if you have Adam in season 4, and season 4 is its own sort of like muddy villain. It should have been Maggie, but then no,
but even he could talk, right? Like he's still like
he had a personality. There was like there was just sort of like there was emotion there. There was something to like connect to. There was something. So I do think that, but like I just would have brought him in from the beginning. I don't like. I feel like that's another thing where I'm like, because hope you're sitting down. I'm about to bring up Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks season 2 suffers from this, where they have a great. So like in season 2, which was their last season, they were canceled unceremoniously. They resolved the who killed Laura Palmer mystery like early on, because they were literally forced to, because back then nobody knew what to do with an unresolved
Which I still say is one of the best episodes of television. I think that's a great episode of the series.
Correct, exactly. It's weird. It's one of the best things Bob Iger's ever done. Is force his hand on that. But anyway, there was a pocket of time, like 8 episodes after that, where they were treading water before they got to their really good villain before, and it just was like, oh, if they had just introduced that villain earlier and stronger, it wouldn't have been too little too late playing catch up. So it has the same vibe where it's like, we had a lot of soft middle there where we really could have used sort of a Saruman type, like person dictating all of the creatures where they were going, acting on behalf of the unseen evil. That's really what Caleb is doing. He's doing the Saruman role. So that's why Two Towers holds up, because it's Saruman's show and it's in the middle where things start to get a little formless. Yeah. So I do think that would have been maybe a better, like, had they just brought him in earlier and then, but I don't know how much you could even use filling at that point, but.
Right. Yeah. Cause like in Angel, they brought in Gina Torres, cause one assumes they were like, it's like, oh, Firefly got canceled. So let's cause I just went through Firefly on the Patreon and it was my first time going through it. And I was a hard sell at first, but I did eventually, like, they were 2 of the best actors on that show. So it made sense to like, oh, I want to bring them to my other shows because they are both very good actors. But it's weird because both their roles are like this. Like Gina Torres' role is the last 3 episodes of Angel. She comes in as the big bad and it's like, why do I care about this?
Yeah.
It's like too late. And you're right, Adam. He would work better if not even like he's there all the time, but just like we got hints of him and like glimpses of like
2 strong, like the mayor, 2 strong episodes in the beginning, a strong episode in the middle, a couple at the end, and then he's in for a shot throughout. The others, I know it all probably boils down to like you got to pay the actor per episode, etc. And they were trying to save money. But storytelling wise, that like I would rather they had maybe gone that road, especially if he was not going to maybe be the final big bad. But I think that's enough of that would have really given this season some form.
Yes, and I think that's another good point, Adam, is that he isn't the final. He's still not even he comes in for these last 4 or 5 episodes, and he's still not really the final fight.
And I think that would have been fine, because again, if you take the Saruman route with that, like we know he is acting on behalf of a larger boss that we can't see. And so I think that would have been fine. I think, it's one of those, it's one of those things where I think you really needed like a villain right away.
Yeah. I mean, she's our hero, right? I do appreciate that Buffy isn't like she's getting her ass kicked, but she's like not really fazed by him at this point. And that's a Buffy that does feel earned, that even though he's as strong as Glory when she's fighting him, she doesn't ever like seem that terrified of him. She's more like annoyed at him. Right. And she like wants to kick his ass.
Yeah. I mean, cause she's faced down, gods and her best friend and everything. Like we've seen like, it's hard to get somebody that like kind of get somebody even more mythic for her to face, because they had done frankly like too good of a job in the prior seasons.
Yeah, like Buffy's not going to be gooped. Like she's just not.
That's the thing. Like I feel like the show is most effective on a villain level when she is facing herself as the first, which we can get to in the finale. But
so I do, she does say, I guess I'm just ornery, right before he like fucking throws her through the window. I remember this being in like all the previews. I remember seeing that scene and being like, but then he just kind of leaves her, right? Because they're not quote unquote ready or whatever. And he says something stupid like he's going to enjoy taming her, and just kind of like leaves her with like that dent in the wall. Cut back to the Summers house. And this is like another scene where Andrew works really well, right? Because Giles and Dawn are going through the files and Andrew is complaining that Faith ate his Hot Pocket, which I have to mention, Tom Lank, me and Philip Ellis, who's one of our co-hosts, we interviewed Tom Lank a month ago or a few weeks ago for Storyteller. And I couldn't remember where the scene was, but he said that in this scene, he actually sang the Hot Pockets theme, like the commercial theme, when delivering this line. He just sang the word Hot Pockets, and they made him re-record it for the audio because they like didn't have the rights to the jingle, so he couldn't sing the song. Wow. Which I love.
UPN, God damn it. Like, whatever $5 that probably was.
Right, yeah.
Right. It's like 2 notes.
Like, and also Hot Pockets probably would have loved the promo.
Yeah.
Because like at the time it was like
product placement, because Faith pops in eating that Hot Pocket, I think, in the next scene.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because I feel like at the time, whether it's Jim Gaffigan or something, it was like the butt of the comedians' jokes. Like how crummy it was.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, anybody who's willing to talk about it in a not like this is revolting way.
Right.
Like
in a like I wanted that kind of way.
Right.
But I do like that like Giles and Dawn are like trying very hard to ignore Andrew, and he's like continually bringing up the food. And I love a frustrated Giles, because that does remind me of you, Adam, when you said you relate to that, when he's like, please shut up and just pay attention. Like he's like, go away. I've had it with you. Yeah. You are annoying.
God, I'm such a Giles. Like, no, I'm probably most Giles in the Dead Man's Party episode. For some reason, I so relate to like, or anything in season 3. I feel like season 3 Giles is just rare form.
Yes.
Like just about everything anybody's saying.
Like my favorite moment in Gingerbread when Cordelia like slaps him awake, and she's like, one of these days you're gonna wake up in a coma, and he's like, wake up in a
that's like, the moment. That's what I was thinking.
That's very
I'm just like, never mind. No, I have it saved to my phone as like one of my like top 10 reacts. Is I think it's in Dead Man's Party where he's when they're talking to where he's talking to Oz and Cordelia, and he's just like, yes, worse.
Yeah.
That's my whole like identity for the best years.
So he wants to send Spike to look at this monastery, and I will say I still don't like, we're adding a lot of plot here that like doesn't matter, right? Like, Stephen Oneal, quick pop quiz for you. What are they sending them there for? Do you know? Can you say off the top of your head?
There's a symbol that was maybe Caleb's symbol that is burned into the wood. And they got this from the Sunnydale police because the Sunnydale police wants to work with Interpol. None of it makes sense. There is a symbol. I know that much.
But right, it is kind of like, I don't know, they're going to investigate something.
Yeah, I really appreciated that Buffy actually said that. Like, it helped me make sense of it. She told Giles, like, you sent Spike away so you could ambush me. And I was like, oh, that's the whole reason why we get to hear Andrew and Spike talk about the blooming onions. Like, now it makes sense.
I mean, and it is a good scene. It is. But so he sends Spike away and tells him to take Andrew because Andrew's annoying him. Then we like get the quick blip of like everyone dancing at the Bronze, and we get the Kennedy and Dawn bit of her saying like, what kind of band plays during the apocalypse? And she's like, I think this band might be one of the signs because it's the band that does the theme song.
The Bronze's rent must be nothing. The fact that they've stayed open this long.
Right.
I was thinking about that. I was one like, do you think the Bronze closed during the pandemic? I think they're still going.
No, it was a super spreader every night. I thought.
Right, every night. And the patrons are just like, yeah, I might die at the Bronze. That's new.
Yeah. Let's go to that club where like 5 people a night are murdered.
Yeah, the Bronze is really packed, and you're like, wow, I'm surprised people would behave this way in an apocalypse. But then you realize we just went through an apocalypse, and that's sort of how people behaved. So I guess they were onto something.
There was one episode where like a werewolf comes through and just like starts mauling people in the Bronze, and I was just like, don't they remember that 2 weeks ago this happened? The same thing? And then I'm like walking down Santa Monica Boulevard, and I'm just like, oh, everyone's back in the club.
Yeah. Right? It's like all the things that we thought were stupid like that. It's like, now they don't seem so stupid. It just seems like, yeah, that's how that would go.
That's right.
Now the stupid show is our lives.
So Buffy comes home. She's pissed. She, like you said, Stephen, she says to Giles, like, you sent Spike away, blah, blah, blah. I love how consistently she doesn't like Andrew, because he's like, well, I sent Andrew with him. She's like, again, I'm still worried. This is a mission that you want him to die on. But I hate the fighting. I hate that she's like, I can't trust the decisions you make when I'm not, like, I hate that shit. Because we don't get a like resolution. It's just kind of like in the finale, understandably, and this does track with Buffy, I think, her personality, that she's like, I don't need to talk about it. We're good. Let's just keep moving. Because Buffy is got a lot going on, and a lot of times she doesn't have time. Like when Spike would want to talk all the time about their relationship, she'd be like, no, either we're fucking or shut up. That's it. But I mean, right, that was their dynamic in season 6. It's like either fuck or shut up. I don't care what you're saying.
I know. It is that Twitter hot where you're just like, will you get back to posting your chest?
So we cut to the bronze. Faith takes Amanda's drink away because she's 17 and drunk. I do like this scene. I do. I like that we get to see the potentials. This is kind of like one of the only scenes so far where the potentials have been like, you know, they're having fun. They're even like confronting that police officer. I hate seeing Faith get like beaten up by all of the police officers at once. I feel like that's like very brutal. They get locked in. I almost wish they hadn't been like, oh, it's the Hellmouth making them do this because, you know.
What? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it only affects the police and no one else.
Yeah. So I do like we get like Kendi and Dawn like fighting back. I do like we get Dawn being scrappy. This reminded me, Stevens, I don't know if you boys watched Lost, but Adam and I did. We bring up Lost a lot. This reminded me of one of those Lost moments, Adam, where it's like, if you would stop yelling at each other and just talk about what happened, maybe there wouldn't be a fight.
Lost every second. Someone was like, why are you doing this? And then someone would always go, someone would always say, that doesn't matter.
Right.
They would always say that doesn't matter. And I was like, and I'm just, and I'm always just like, I can see the writer sitting there. And it's 3 a.m. and this fucking script was due. And they just were like, I know this should be asking that question. I just am going to have them ask that question and then have someone say it doesn't matter. That's all I can do at this point. I'm out of time.
And Adam and I love Lost, so we're not saying it's a show we love, but like that is always was a problem on Lost.
Always.
Or like, I'm mad at you for this. And then the person would like mysteriously look, but then there'd be an explosion off to the side. So then they just never talk about something that would have been easily explainable. Because I feel like if Faith had just said like, oh, the Hellmouth made the cops evil. They attacked all of us. That's why you walked up on me, like kicking the shit out of these cops. Like, right? It feels like that could have
helped. It feels like an easily explainable situation. Like, I think this is like a lot of shows where, or movies where they'll just be like, where they just really need someone to have misunderstood and to like move the plot along. And it's always like someone tries to like explain and they just go, don't bother explaining.
Yeah.
It's an interesting read. Maybe, you know, I guess I could read it as Faith not feeling like she should have to justify herself to Buffy right now. Like, you know, and of course she was just attacked and it wasn't her fault. But I think the whole scene is a little, it's strange. It's like they needed a fight scene because they weren't going to get like a big, you know, brawl at the end. So they needed Faith to fight someone. And, you know, it's fun to watch her beat up, cops, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, I feel like they wanted like to have like a Faith beats up cop situation, and they were like, the cops are gonna get upset about this if we don't moralize her at the end. So they have like a whole part where Buffy's like, how dare?
Right, because also then it does seem like, and I couldn't believe when Faith says it at the end when she's like, someone who thinks they're a cop. It very much feels that way with Buffy coming in and being like, wagging her finger, sending the girls home, and like no one was doing anything wrong. They were literally attacked by these cops. Right. It does feel very Buffy the Cop, which I don't love.
Yeah, she's like sharing memes on Facebook, and you're like, no.
Like, no, don't say that. Don't do that. I love you too much. Why are you doing this?
Even if those cops even if the cops didn't bother showing up there, I think Buffy still would have acted this exact same way. She was mad they were partying at the Bronze to begin with. It's just this way we got some type of fight scene.
You know, I actually put that in my notes because Buffy says like, oh, I understand blowing off steam. And I'm like, does she? Because she has not let these potentials do like anything fun. Like, it's always train, go to bed. Where's your lesson? Like, are you training? Like, there's no like, hey guys, take a break. You know?
Yeah, you kind of think how Buffy used to be with Giles, and after so many apocalypses, though, I guess you're like no fun anymore. Let's just and
end this shit.
let's just end this, please. Get this over. I think that's why she's just so excited. She like needs to just like kill Caleb. Like, can we just? I'm over this.
Well, I mean, she was ripped out of heaven, and so like living on Earth is hell to her. So she's really just, even though she's like maybe turned a corner emotionally from where she was in season 6, she is still like every moment listening to any of you is murder.
That's us on Twitter, Adam.
I'm just like, right. It's very nihilistic. Yeah, I think a little bit of just like, all right. Yeah.
It's like, yeah. You got to say the thing that I don't want to hear and don't care about. Let me
say the thing. It's important. Not
So then we get Spike and Andrew. I guess I forgot to mention we do get. I love the visual of like Andrew holding on to Spike with the same helmet Dawn wore when like it was him and Dawn on the motorcycle. And I do think Andrew works well with a lot of the characters. And when we get these moments, like I feel like watching this, I'm like, oh, I would watch an Andrew and Spike spinoff show. Like they would be good together. So they're in the monastery that Stephen explained to us is like, maybe they're looking for a symbol. I do like Andrew. They like have the one priest that they like is attacking them, but not really. And Andrew's like, I'll be playing the part of bad cop, which is the way Andrew is. I think if a straight guy had been playing this character, it would have felt homophobic. Well, Adam, do you agree with that?
I mean, of course. Yeah, there's only like a few straight actors playing gay that I've like ever like approved in my lifetime. But yeah, I think definitely like it's hard because I feel like sometimes so I was watching Freaky with my roommate, and it was like, and it was to the point where my roommate didn't know that like the people behind the movie were queer, and she was just like, "Is this like?" She kept looking to me like being like, "I think it's offensive," and I was like, "No, it's just it's like they're vamping. It's a little campy, and but it's hard. It's definitely like." Why you need the nuance of like maybe like a queer person doing it, because like sometimes it does ride that line of like, okay, this is okay because you yourself are queer, but
well, and like the Jana Spenson told me when she like we did a brief interview for Storyteller that like they did change. Andrew's character was originally supposed to be the leader of the trio, but they liked Tom Lank so much that they cast him and they literally changed the role to be more like him. So for me, that's like where this writing is like, oh, they were definitely writing for Tom Lank's like his like the way he is, and that's why this works. Like shit like this of him being like totally useless, not helpful at all, but like jokey about like I'm the bad cop. Ooh, like very like it works for me.
Yeah, because I think like the Andrew in season 6 in the first half.
Yes.
Is different than Andrew season 6 in the second half, which is way different than season 7 Andrew. So I think it's very clear that they started out being like, here's Andrew, straight nerd.
Right.
Like, and very quickly, really eyeballing women in the first half of season 6. Like, and then it just very, very rapidly changes behind the scenes.
Yes. So they read whatever this priest shows them the thing that Stephen mentioned they were going for, I guess. And I'm still not clear. Clearly it's talking about the scythe, but I'm not sure like why this matters, but it's like they say like, what does it say? What it says is it is not for thee, it is for her alone to wield. And like, all right, I get it, but right? I don't know.
Yeah, and then they don't like Buffy doesn't ever seem to learn about that. She just ends up goes and finds it on her own, and it just seemed like a random diversion for Andrew and Spike. So yeah, the only thing I learned from that was the onion blossom bit, which I had not tried an onion blossom until hearing them talk about it, and yeah, they're delicious.
I will say I had not tried one until literally like I think for my for Father's Day, I think me and my parents went to wherever the steakhouse is that has that, and I was like, oh, this is the thing Andrew and Spike like. Like, I was literally thinking of that as we were eating it.
That's weird, because, I mean, growing up in the Midwest, it was like onion blossom fucking from birth. Yeah. From
birth. Right. Do you think you can get Outback to sponsor the podcast?
There we go. Yeah.
I'm like, well, we do bring up your bloomin' onion, so if you would like to be sponsored by us. So we cut back to the Summers house. Okay, every time I've watched this season, and I've been saying this a lot, I feel differently about Buffy specifically. Because I go back and forth, but like here and this reading, I do think while the outcome of this scene is not earned at all, she is being a dick, right? Like, she's being so weirdly insistent upon, like, no, we have to go back and do this, to like the mission we just did where it failed. Xander lost an eye, people were murdered. And like, I don't know. Like, I'm wondering, because so we get the thing specifically that I'm like, we need to talk about this is Anya gives her the "you didn't earn it, you didn't work for it" speech right after Buffy says this can't be a democracy. So I don't like anything of what's going on here. What do we all think of what Anya says? Adam, I'm curious at your thoughts, what Anya, because I love Anya, but like here I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, I'm in agreement. I mean, in general, I'm not loving the like sort of single-mindedness of this, but I obviously don't think like this should have led to like, she's got to go.
Right.
So I feel like, yeah, this definitely is, especially coming off of like Buffy the Cop, like having it be like none of you have a voice, is, maybe not, wasn't the best way to go about it, but also like I understand her being like super over it, but
yeah, I thought it was weird. She said, "You're luckier than us." I mean, she died twice. Like, I don't know how lucky that is. It just seemed, it was very, it was like overly simplified. Like the lines that were drawn. Like instead of saying, Faith says like, we need proof before we go back there. Instead of saying, okay, let's do some recon, let's get some proof. They're like, no, it's our way or the highway. It just seemed very, I don't know, sloppily written, I guess, or very hastily written.
Yeah, I feel like the writers a few times go to like weird moments where Buffy and Anya are like pretty horrible to each other. And I never really understood like that dynamic when it gets that, because I also don't think their relationship was ever built up enough to warrant that. So yeah, I think they just needed, it's like Anya's always going to say this thing everyone's thinking, I guess. But I don't think this speech really makes too much sense. I don't think her justifications for being so upset and saying Buffy is luckier than them, it doesn't really track.
So I find I fall somewhere in that middle, because I get what Anya's trying to say. Like, you were born to be a Slayer, but I feel like to say she didn't earn it, you're like forgetting that she has died twice for you motherfuckers. She has like saved you from every apocalypse. It's hard to say you didn't earn the leadership and powers that you have, because like at this point she has, but I get like, if we're talking about like, she was born into this, you're just kind of born into it. But like,
it just doesn't seem like it's Anya's character. Like, I feel like we're entering a rocky part of the river where every character stops being themselves for like a second.
Yeah.
I don't know who would have said that. Maybe Faith would have said that. Maybe even Xander could have said that, dealing with his stuff. But I don't know. I just don't feel like, I feel like Anya's role is I'm going to crack wise, and I don't really have much of an, like, I don't see her having this much of an opinion on it.
Right. Like, I don't see her caring that much.
Right.
Like, her just being like, well, these everyone's fighting, whatever, let me get a snack. Like,
right.
But so we also get, when Buffy's like being extra stubborn, Faith even says like, or learn their names. Ooh, and like, she's not wrong there. Right. Like,
no, that hit hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, when I remember being so excited like you, Stephen, for Faith to come back. And when I watched this live, like, I definitely read it as Faith was purposely trying to like, the way Buffy reads it as like, oh, this is all on purpose. Faith's trying to take over. And I definitely read it that way. Like, I remember like when she punches Faith at that scene being like, yeah, she should punch Faith. How dare she talk to Buffy like that? But like now as an adult watching it, I'm like, ooh, Faith is a little bit right here, right? Like Faith isn't trying, and I don't think she is at all, to try to take over. It's just like the girls are like, we like her better. She's fun aunt,
right?
Rather than like cop mom. Like, so I don't think Faith is at fault here because she's not. She's like, she even says like, oh, Buffy just needs to chill out for a second. Like, she's not like, let's vote her out. She's like, just like chill, and we'll talk about this once you've thought about it. And that's like the thing this show does well is characters like Faith or like Spike or normally like Anya that are more on the outskirts that can read this group for filth because they're not like as emotionally invested as like Willow and Buffy and Xander and Giles, who have this like all this like emotional baggage, right?
Right.
Definitely. And right after Faith said that Buffy, should learn their names, I thought it was so fascinating that, well, Buffy tried to bring up Faith's past, which, I mean, Faith's done enough that makes sense. But Giles shuts her down really quickly, doesn't even let her finish to stop her from saying that. And that led to Faith's line about asking Buffy if she could follow. Like that, Faith really was my favorite part of this scene, because she's not trying to take over. She's not. Everything she says seems like something Faith would say, unlike Anya and unlike Dawn and Xander. Faith was the star of this for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I absolutely agree. I she's not trying to do any of like her, past Faith behavior. She's not trying to take anything from Buffy, but she is maybe being critical and making Buffy try to stop and think, because the rest of Buffy's friends are having these odd reactions. I do think Xander's is more in line with kind of where his character's at emotionally and just kind of the way he's behaved in the past. But Willow and Giles are really, and then Dawn in a moment, but their reactions to, I can certainly see their perspective after what's happened, but just how far they've come with Buffy, it doesn't really match up with the history of the show.
And literally in the prior episode, Xander gave everyone a speech about how Buffy is like, she's done more for their lives than they can ever remember. And like, she's died twice. And like, if you don't, he says something like, you have to trust her. And I get it. He has since lost an eye. I would also feel shitty if like my best friend was like, well, you lost an eye, Born, and do the same exact thing again. And hopefully the results are better. Like, I would definitely be pissed, but like, it's just weird that all of them turn on her. Like when Kennedy and Rona calling Buffy out makes more sense. But like when like Kennedy's like, Willow, why are you always defending her? And Willow's like, I'm not defending her right now. I'm like, oh, come on. Like,
it just feels weird. It felt like it should have had more of I feel like the way to do this would be to have enough people make a stink that Buffy just like decides to leave or something. Yes. Like I would rather she had like left herself and been like, why don't you all just enjoy a little Faith weekend with your fun aunt and see how and see if you all don't like catch a bomb in the mouth next episode.
With like a peace sign and kicking the door down.
Like, if you don't make it 7 minutes into the next fucking episode without fucking catching a time bomb.
Adam, I love catching a bomb in the mouth. Like it really is. Like she literally leads them to a fucking bomb. Like
right into the mouth of a trap.
And like I gotta say, I get pissed at everyone, and I love the writing of Dawn in the season, but Dawn pisses me off the most in this scene. Because also I'd be like, do you pay the bills here, Dawn? Because I don't think
you're a green floating ball of energy, ma'am. Like sit down.
That's the thing. I
would say Michelle though with the when she says shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's a good Michelle performance.
Yeah, it's like through gritted teeth.
She really sells it, at least.
She did.
Yeah, but it's a little bit like like that. Remember that last season when everyone was pressed about who's going to pay the water bill?
Oh yeah,
who's there is going to pay the bill?
And it's like, half of you live here, so what do you mean who's going to pay this bill?
Yeah, like Hot Pocket's gay, or this other person, or the kid, or like the witch who just got done killing like a dozen people and is like in rehab. Like not that rehab could be. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like that would have been like a moment. Like I just feel like had they pitched it a little bit and still had a, not every last soul in her life gang up on her and force her out, and it just had been enough. Because again, if you had like 20 of my closest friends in a room and I have been doing all this shit for them, and you had 2 people giving me this level of shit, I would have been like, good night. And then just had her maybe take a little bit of control of that. That's maybe the fix.
Yeah. Adam, I like your rewrite. I think that's a good rewrite. Because it really would have made more sense. Like, I just like, okay, good luck surviving. I just don't understand.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like I maybe like done that and just kind of said like, hey, why don't we give this a little trial?
Right.
Faith takes over. I spend the night with Spike and putting spa gloves on, and I will get some of this relaxing you all want me to do so much, and then
I'm gonna go upstairs and get a face mask to bring with me.
That's it. This is the mom moment where she's like, enough, kids. I'm leaving, and I'm gonna be in a bath. And then make your own peanut butter sandwich. I don't know. Like,
I would love if like that was how this went, and Buffy was like in a bath for the next whole episode, like having some wine,
and they're caught in the catacombs exploding. Yeah. And she's just like, "Oh, it's weird. It's weird. I said this would happen." Yeah,
she's like, "This is a great break while everyone's blowing up." So. I do like the scene with her and Faith, because again, Faith is the only one that's like not really pissing me off here. So I appreciate that like Faith follows her, and Faith is like, hey, like this isn't what I was trying to do. Because again, I do think Faith isn't lying. She wasn't going for that. And I do like the dynamic between Buffy and Faith will never not be a dynamic that I don't love. And I still love it here. Like I like that Buffy doesn't fight her. Buffy just is like, crying because she's upset, understandably, and is just like, protect them. Now their like lives are in your hand, which is also like good luck, but also she like means it. And so I do like that as like the last beat. So it's not at least like, we all fucking hate you, Buffy. It's like the other Slayer like respecting Buffy.
Yeah, that was a good moment. That was like one redeeming thing from this otherwise horribly tense scene that didn't really need to be there, was that like moment of connection, Slayer to Slayer, Buffy to Faith. Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah, I love their dynamic. Stephen Oneal?
Yeah, I do too. And it's just Faith, when you like really think about it, really is not in the whole Buffy verse, is not in like that many episodes, but just to see like her entire arc on the show, and just sort of where she ends is I think really cool to see.
Yeah. And now with a fashion roundup for the episode Empty Places, we have season 7 costume designer Matt Van Dyne. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. So what do you got for us for Empty Places?
Okay, we're up to episode 19, aren't we? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
We're getting
so close to the end.
Close to the end. Well, in the last episode, we were introduced to Faith, weren't we? And also Caleb. But yes. In this episode, I was getting more into, dressing Eliza. And I would like to share with everybody that when Eliza first came to the show, I don't know why. I just don't think she was too crazy about me. I just don't. Okay. I didn't have any of those feelings for her because I didn't know her or anything. But I'm not sure what that was about.
Okay.
But initially, maybe it was because she was coming in toward the end of the season, and this was, the regular cast of characters, and she's getting thrown into the mix. And maybe there was a little bit of uneasiness about that, and her wanting to stand out, perhaps. I don't know.
Okay.
But that was never a question in my mind. It was always... I would treat her just as fairly as all of the other characters because, I wasn't trying to make anybody look better or worse than anybody else.
Right.
I mean, that wouldn't be my job. My job is to address the script, address the character, and fulfill the actress's wishes to the best of my ability. And Eliza, a beautiful, beautiful girl, and was certainly a pleasure to dress her. And I think I've said before, I purchased a lot of really better clothing for her. But one memory I do have that kind of spills over into past seasons. See, as I've said before, I didn't approach the show, based on previous seasons. It was
right.
I think season 7 is kind of a standalone when it comes to the costumes because they're different, and everybody's growing up, and that's part of the the story, that and in turn their clothing choices are a little more grown up. But Eliza was very interested in wearing a boot. I remember this so well. There was a certain boot that she claimed that she had worn on previous seasons. Well, now there was a stock of wardrobe that I inherited when I became the designer, and there were,
Did they go back to 3?
I don't know how far back it went, but I knew that. Well, I dug and dug and dug into that wardrobe. I was trying to find this boot, and it didn't. I couldn't find it. But she, I want that boot. I want that boot. Now, to be honest, you're probably never going to even notice it, but I understand the actress. Though, if that is something that helps her build her character, then she wants that. That security, that will help her with her performance. I get that.
You're being more than fair, Matt.
No, I understand. I do. I really do understand that. Okay. And so I said, well, I wonder where this boot came from. And she told me, I think she gave me the name of it. And I started looking all over Los Angeles. I mean, literally all over. And I'm calling all over the country. And I'm not exaggerating. Trying to find this boot. I had done this before successfully on another show with Michael J. Fox, who was interested in having a certain nightwear that came from Banana Republic that I eventually found at a fabric in New Jersey, in a factory in New Jersey.
Really?
I got it. So I've done this, espionage detective work before. So
it really is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it is. So but I'm looking everywhere for this boot. I can't find it. And so one day I knew, and she was had her heart set on that boot.
Yeah.
And I was like, isn't there something else we could do instead? But she wanted that boot. So I go to, as a last resort, now our studios were in Santa Monica.
Okay.
Hardly ever did I ever shop in Santa Monica, though, because there aren't that many stores that close by that, we would really utilize. But there was a Macy's in the Santa Monica Mall. And I thought, I'm going to go to this Macy's. And it was an overstocked store, and it wasn't very well organized. And I remember going into the shoe department, and in the back corner of this stupid Macy's shoe department, I start digging through boxes and boxes. I find the boot.
Nice.
They have it. And that was, like gold to me,
Right.
And I brought it back. So, I think that helped our relationship a little bit. I think it did, that she had the boot that she wanted to wear. But I don't know, like I said, it was just, she felt that maybe she was going to be, like sidestepped somehow, but that was never the case. As you could see, by the clothes that I would put on her. And I was looking at this episode, and I think that little lace top, lace, it's not lace, lace is on the side. The blue top that she wears over the white t-shirt. And I remember, I looked at that today, and I thought, wow, that looks great on her.
It does. It's a really good color on her.
Good color, and just the style of it, and just everything about it I liked. And I thought, well, that looks really good on her. And as I look back now, I think she looks really appropriate to the character. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
and I hope she is too. I know. Life. She was just a young girl at the time.
Right.
And I was probably and still am old enough to be her father. So maybe it was part that. I don't know. It's just like, who is this guy? Because she'd always been dressed by, I think,
Cynthia,
female, staff before, and now she has a guy coming in, and I don't know if that played into it or not, but I think eventually we built a trust between us. At least I hope so. So and I was looking at like,
how can anyone not like you, Matt? What's not to like?
Well, I don't know. Well, when I was going through my records, I was looking at what I had purchased for her, and watching the show, I noticed for Faith, I had purchased this little pendant necklace that had like the square pendant. And I thought, well, that stood out to me. And I happened to find it in my notes, in my records, that it's a nothing little necklace that came from Macy's. It cost all of, I think, $26.
Okay.
but I just thought, it fit her character so well. Just the simple jewelry, not nothing too frou-frou-y or anything like that. So different for her. So I'm very happy with how Eliza looks in the episodes, and looking back at it, like I said, I have these memories of what it was to do the work, but then now when I see it on the screen, it all, and that's what matters, what's on the screen. So I think it looks, appropriate to the character and to the episode. So I, and ultimately I'm happy with it. So that's a good thing. And then go ahead.
I just to say, it is funny hearing you, like, when you said you didn't like that skirt you built for Sarah, but then looking back, you were like, oh, it does look kind of nice.
Yeah, it is true. It's like when you're in the thick of it, it's you have a whole different perspective. And then looking back at it now, well, I look at it more like as a viewer, or the people that watch it, because I'm removed from it now, I can watch it that way. But it does spur memories. And then I found in my notes too, that there were just little things that we purchased for this episode. For Giles, his turtleneck sweater was a DKNY sweater, the cable knit sweater that I think looked so good on him. Yeah. And a black trench coat. I think he's wearing that at the beginning of the episode, which came from Saks Fifth Avenue. It's a Jill Sander black trench. It's a really nice coat. It's about $800. I think it was like $800 or something like that. Oh, nice. So very nice outfit.
What I got to ask you, did you? I feel like I remember you mentioning the coat. Did you build that coat that Sarah's wearing, the brown jacket?
Well, I'm trying to remember that. I don't remember. That's one of my favorite looks.
I remember you. Yes, that's why I remember, because you had told me that like a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a sketch of it, so I don't know the specifics of that. I can't tell you. But I do remember. That's funny about that. I do remember having a discussion with Sarah about wearing the black shell underneath, the braish kind of look. But then I remember we both agreed because of her choices were to stay warm. She would want to layer things, and we both agreed it would be okay to layer the black piece over top of the white, which appears in some scenes. Like there she has it on, and there she does. But I said, well, I think that's plausible. We could do that. So I remember having that discussion with her. But I do like that outfit a lot. The pinstripe pant and the coat. I love that coat. Yeah, I wish I could remember if we built it or not. I hope we did, because I liked it. But I love that outfit on her, and the way it plays throughout the whole episode. And I think what I wanted to mention was, watching this episode, I had forgotten how dark this episode is. It's pretty bleak, when you're watching it, and serious. They're all turning on Buffy. It's like, I totally forgotten that. So
made many fans angry because
did it? I could imagine. Yeah, it kind of made me angry watching it.
Right?
Yeah, it did. That's interesting. I had no idea.
How many times has she saved your asses and you're going to kick her out?
Yes, yeah. I know. I felt the same, watching it. That's so funny. And also about these episodes, I can't figure out for the life of me why I don't have more records on what Anya is wearing.
Because you love like
yes, and I love her clothes, and I put a lot of effort into that. But I don't know, for some reason that the records of that, at least maybe I'll see it later someplace. But I can't seem to find. But just that little blue sweater with the little pearls on it. I love that. I thought that was so pretty on her, and the dress with the little the black dress with the little rainbow colored sleeves. I thought that was so pretty on her. I don't know. Maybe we built that. I don't remember. But because I don't see records, so maybe it was something that we made. I don't know.
My only question is for Clem.
Yes.
Did you already have that?
Well, I have it in my script, but I don't think I did have that. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that was something we came up with. I'm probably, I just pulled together probably. And but I do have one other memory about Michelle Trachtenberg, Dawn, when she goes to the club, the little like flutter sleeve top she's wearing. Michelle, she never got to wear kind of grown up looking clothes, and she was coming of age at that time, and she was very excited to get to wear something like that. I remember that. So I have a memory of that. Yeah, very sweet, very sweet.
That's cute.
Yes, but yeah, that's pretty much. And then I do have a note. I laughed to myself. Another Buffy denim jacket for this episode. It came from Neiman Marcus, and those little white tops that she's wearing under her other outfit. Those were, I think, we had multiples of those. I had to find those in other places for whatever. I can't remember why we had multiples, but we did. But yeah. So that's pretty much. Oh, then I noticed. Oh, I do have a question. This is a question for the fans. Maybe they can get back to me, because when Andrew is riding behind Spike on the motorcycle, and
I might be able to answer this question. Keep going.
Can you? The helmet.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it says in the script, preferably a helmet worn by Dawn.
Yes.
In bargaining.
Yes.
And is that where that helmet came from?
It looks. I was wondering if that would be you or props, but it looks like exactly the same helmet. In bargaining, Spike and Dawn, like Spike's babysitting Dawn.
Okay, well okay.
And she rides on his motorcycle. It's like the same exact image. It's supposed to be paralleling it.
Okay, because I wondered, like, where did that come from?
And it's like he doesn't have a helmet, but he wants her to wear one, and that's all they can find. So she puts on.
Well, that's probably I probably had to come up with that then. Yeah. So you answered it. I didn't have to go to the fans.
Me, I am the fans.
But it said that in the script, so
that's funny.
I thought. But I laughed at it in the scene on the I thought, oh, that's funny.
It's a cute visual, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's very funny. I've told you before. I think Tom is just so brilliant. So I wondered about that. So I thought, well, who came up with that? So, but those are basically my memories of that episode. So.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you for joining us, and we've only got 3 episodes left, but I'll see you next time.
Okay, see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, cool. Now we're at the end. Favorite outfit, Stephen Oneal.
There's not I'm going to go between, in the first scene, Giles is wearing a turtleneck and a trench coat. And, as I've grown in my age, Giles is doing a lot more for me. So I'm going to say Giles trench coat turtleneck combo.
All right. Steven Romo?
I would have to go with Anya's like puffy sweater with like pearls all over it in the confrontation scene there at the end. Like she's cute, delivering like these really like cutting lines to Buffy, but she's like warm and fuzzy. Like you can always count on Anya just be wearing something that makes no sense this season.
I like that you're like, it's my favorite and it makes no sense.
I love it. Just a head scratcher.
Adam?
Yeah, my favorite outfits always skew early 2000s, the one that screams the most of that era, and this is when Buffy is kicked out. The like black sort of nighty undershirt that is visible underneath like the sort of semi-sheer white top she's wearing. I think that's very I do think that should come back, but I'm not in charge of fashion.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
You do not want to see me in charge of fashion wearing the worst
yet. So I have a tie because I do like that look on her too, Adam. You and I always love. We've been stuck in that like late 90s, early 2000s fashion. That's our look forever. We hit that and we liked it and we stuck with it.
Two middle-aged fags liking what Buffy's wearing. Groundbreaking. Yeah.
But I will also say that I love Faith in like, it looks like something she would have worn in season 3, but like a little updated for whatever year this was.
That's right.
And when she's at the Bronze and she's wearing like that black tight tank top and her tight jeans and her studded belt. It's like,
if you added a little cowboy hat, she would be Susan Sarandon in Bad Moms Christmas. Like she's little, like she's come to town to just cowboy catch up with her daughter, but really like she's on the run from someone who she owes money to.
Favorite scene, Stephen Oneal?
I might go for the Spike Andrew on the motorcycle scene, and Spike ending with, if you tell anybody about this, I'll bite you, because he realized it's gone too far. He's gotten too personal. So I'll take that one for just a nice comedy scene.
Steven Romo?
I think it was the scene in the hospital early on in the episode when the 3 core Scoobies are there, because watching it, I know there's so little time left in the season, so the more people just get along and like everyone's, their little found family is loving each other. I just really enjoy those, even though someone lost an eye.
Adam?
The kicking out of the house thing. No, I think I like the Clem part. That always feels very, I just think I like that part probably the best. It's a nice little way to signal that we're in the end game of the season and the series. Things are getting serious, and I love a one-on-one scene. It's hard for me to get into an ensemble moment, but I do love
a one-on-one. I
love a one-on-one. Oh yeah.
I think for me, it's everyone at the Bronze. I like seeing like the girls get to like have fun and also beat up like this like evil cop. Like I like seeing the potentials have more agency, and also like it's a scene where they're not being annoying, which is nice. I like that, and I like that it's like fun. Aunt Faith is the one that's like, yeah, let's all go to the Bronze and dance and have fun. All right, what grade do we give this episode, Adam?
It's hard because I do like that I'm going to give it an A- because I do think that like we get into the meat now. I do like that in a season where I was more impatient with the middle part. So this episode always stood out for me as like, great, we're getting into it. Let's do it. Okay. But then, the minus obviously is for the ending, which I just don't think plays the way they want it to.
All right, Stephen Oneal.
I'm gonna go with a B-. The ending just doesn't quite work in the way that I think was intended. Although I do love a group of people just arguing with each other. But I think there's enough, like the funny parts in this I think are really funny, and it does move the story to where it needs to get to ahead of the finale.
All right, that's fair. Steven Romo?
Yeah, I think I'd give it a B for the same reason. When I first watched it, the ending I would have said a D. But it does get into those last few episodes, like stuff finally starts moving along plot wise, and the scythe is coming into the picture. So it does a lot of important stuff getting to the final arc. So I think I'll give it a passing grade and a little bonus there with a B, being a little generous in my old age.
This never happens, but I'm going to be the harshest grader, Adam. Can you believe that?
I'm living for it. Again, like I really want someone out there who's like listened to all the episodes to like put all the grades for all the Marvel stuff and the Buffy stuff back to back and just see how erratic everything is. I don't remember.
Adam and Ian have different logic in every single episode for their grades, and like that.
I know I'm like in a good mood today, so I'm just like A-. But like sometimes I've like had like literally like depressive episodes where I'm recording and I'm just like, I don't know, F. I think we were doing an X-Men where I was just like, F, get out of it.
It's Hush, and you're like, no, F, I hate it. The worst episode of Buffy.
I'm such a shitty co-host. Yes, what is your harsh grade?
I give it a C+, because not only does that ending like not work for me, but it also makes me fucking furious, and I just... Especially after Adam's very good rewrite of like, okay, like how about she's like, I will take a break. Fuck you guys. Would have worked better for me than like Dawn being the final vote. That's like, get out of my house where I don't pay the bills. Like,
I know we like turned into these like boomers with their millennial kids being like, your house, eh?
Yeah, I know.
Well, what about other bills? I bet, yeah.
Well, Adam, it was so nice having you back. I really can't remember the last Buffy episode you co-hosted, but I think you're right. It was probably in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was the premiere of season 7.
Shit. Stephen and Steven, you were both lovely on the podcast. It was nice to have you both. Thank you all for listening. If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and other places you get your podcasts. You can also support us on Patreon, where we are currently going through What If and going to be starting Harley Quinn Season 2 soon. And we have a bunch of other bonus episodes. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are at SlayerFestX98 on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. And if you want to follow me, I am at Ian X Carlos. Adam, where can everyone find you?
I am on all the socials at the Adam Sass, and you can pick up my YA debut, Surrender Your Sons, wherever you buy your books. And also I have my second book, The 99 Boyfriends of Micah Summers. You can pre-order anywhere. That is coming out this fall.
Yes,
and
can't wait.
Yes, we are all very excited.
Thank you.
Make sure that Adam's book is constantly one of my forever employee recs at work.
Yeah, it's a nice rom-com. It's a nice change of pace from the seriousness of Surrender Your Sons. So I think people are going to be pretty happy. And
if you check out that author photo, I took Adam's author photo, which is a nice.
Yes, Ian has found his way into every book of mine so far.
Steven Romo, where can everyone find you?
At Steven Romo on all the socials.
And Stephen Oneal, where can everyone find you?
S Oneal, SONEALL, at an 89 on Twitter, and then without the number on Insta.
Well, thank you boys so much. We are now 3 episodes away from the end of Buffy, and I can't believe I fucking made it this far. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.